outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and happy 3-martini lunch to you and yours. This is the Allman Report, Common Sense Radio. Jamie Allman here with you, Ashton over there, and you are officially now involved in the Allman Report. And guess what, people? I'm going to tell you what I think about the Iran deal. Actually, no, I'm not, because aren't you sick of hearing people talk about what they think about the Iran deal? Yeah, me too. So I'm not going to bother you with it because everybody's got a friggin' opinion on the Iran deal. Really? I mean, seriously. And I realize we're in the business of opinions, but I don't want to hear anybody. Oh, Mike Pence is chiming in, of course. I mean, honestly, people, I've never known that many experts in Iran nuclear deals than the 100 of people I see every day and hear every day talking about the Iran deal like they know anything about it. Now, listen, Jim Talent, someone like that, I get it, whatever, but all the usual suspects are coming out of the woodwork. And you know what really I want to talk about? I want to talk about the fact that McDonald's is bringing back the hot apple pie. That's really what I want to talk about. It's kind of like, I come in here, it's kind of like I've told people before, is that we all know that really in the end, toast is just a vehicle to eat butter. We know that because you normally wouldn't eat toast normally. You just use it as an excuse to eat butter because you have too much respect for yourself not to just simply cut a slice of butter off the butter stick and shove it in your mouth like we used to do with the butter pads as kids. But that's really the only reason I'm in here today. It's because I'm good. Everything I'm doing is to get around to the point where I can tell you that McDonald's, after 30 years, is bringing back the fried hot apple pie. Can America get any more enjoyable and fun? McDonald's kind of just had to join our big 250th anniversary party and just make something even more awesome. I was wondering where those ever got to, And I remember back in the day, the hot apple pie, that was where you would suffer like third-degree burns on your mouth because the hot apple pie actually never cooled down. I don't know how they did that or what they did it. It didn't matter how long you waited, but the truth of the matter is, the reality is it did cool down. You just were not patient enough to let it cool down, so you kept having to chomp on it and burn your tongue. That's what you had to do. Because if you waited, it would take maybe like a half hour to have the hot apple pie cool down, and that's too long to be holding on to a hot apple pie and staring at a hot apple pie. But as if America couldn't get more amazing and awesome. McDonald's, ladies and gentlemen, is formally announcing they are returning and bringing back the glorious hot apple pie, the fried hot apple pie. But anyway, okay. Well, just for grins, let's see what Mike Pence has to say about the Iran deal. I mean, why not?
We have not been able
Everybody
to see it for
else
ourselves.
is talking about it.
Do you agree with? I mean, you know the president really well. Do you agree with David?
Like the bottom line is, What's Your Nuts is sitting there interviewing Mike Pence, and it's funny how they ask questions about Trump of Mike Pence, and they know what the answer is going to be. Mike Pence, his coffin creaks open every time he has a chance to criticize President Trump. And by the way, it is a matter of fact that Mike Pence could have changed the course of the 2020 election just by giving us answers as it relates to whether or not there were adequate votes to back up the Biden win. And there was going to be a review of them on January 6th. And Mike Pence, the traitor, failed in his duty as the president of the United States Senate. And that is a matter of fact. Mike Pence wasn't going to be contributing to any kind of coup or whatever. Pence, on January 6th, just like Joe Biden was able to do on January 6th of 2017, as president of the Senate, if there are enough pairings of senators and U.S. congressmen to call for a review of the electoral college votes of a state, if you are a senator, you must be paired with a congressman, and that would render a review. And there were 7 of them on January 6th, and that's when Ashley Babbitt was assassinated, and everybody who was calling for a review of the election shut down. Mike Pence, though, even before Ashley Babbitt was assassinated, said he wasn't going to do anything. He promised that he was going to shirk his duty as president of the United States Senate. So that's Mike Pence for you. Mike Pence, the coward. Mike Pence, the little holy Joe. Mike Pence, the one who thinks he's perfect above all anybody else. And now he, of course, comes out and he's chiming in on the Iran nuclear deal because you could go and see a dog tied up outside of a Starbucks, and that dog will have an opinion about the Iran deal.
That if it really was a good deal, the president would stay around to sign it himself publicly and pass out pens like he does with so many executive orders on a daily basis?
It's not an executive order. That's why he's not passing out pens. This is, first of all, it's just good to know that the latest polls show that most people don't trust any political news out there, even CNN. And so the good news is these people are just talking amongst themselves. And what's her name? Oh, Caitlin. What's her name says, it's Caitlin. She says that, he should be passing out pens like any other executive order. And that's not what you do when you are signing agreements with other countries or what have you. And so just even the first 30 seconds here is just a question built basically on a phony simile and analogy about what happens when you sign peace agreements or deals with other countries or what have you. It's not an executive order, so the president isn't going to be passing out pens. And Caitlin, in her simple mind, is insinuating somehow that the president isn't signing it and handing out pens because he's not proud of it. This is unbelievable.
I mean, you know the president really well. Do you agree with David Urban that if it really was a good deal, the president would stay around to sign it himself publicly and pass out pens like he does with so many executive orders on a daily basis?
I'd like to see us be at a place where the president would do just that, and that we would see people in both political parties in this country cheer it on. But look, at least what we're hearing about this, I mean, think about it. The language that has come out, and you're closer to sources there in Geneva than the rest of us, but the language that has come out, there's no mention of dismantling the nuclear program or the ballistic missile program. There's no commitment to ending support for Hamas.
This is great. Mike Pence admitting on television that Caitlin Collins knows more than he does about the deal. And this is a guy that was vice president for 4 years. So you can tell that there are a ton of people around Washington and even in the Trump administration. They're not even leaking to Mike Pence. That's how much they disrespect him. And we don't know what is in the deal. I just saw the gas prices, and it's at $3.69 now that I saw. So the gas prices are already going down. Strait of Hormuz. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And if they do, Trump or Vance or Rubio or whoever is president for the next 50 years who is a Republican, because Democrats are not going to hold the White House for decades, they'll just bomb them back into the Stone Age, and that's how it'll all work. So Strait of Hormuz, open that baby up, give us some gas prices that we like, and that's all we care about. And President Trump also saying to Syria and some of these other Arab countries, you guys need to start bombing Hezbollah so that Israel doesn't have to do it. Anyway, let's go back to Mike Pence and see what this sage has to say.
Hezbollah or other terrorist organizations. But in contrast to that, there is immediate sanctions relief from the moment the MOU is signed. I mean, that could be upwards to $3 billion a month into the coffers of the Iranian regime. There's a pledge of $100 billion in Iranian frozen assets being freed up. At least some of the language that's leaked that would be released even before a final deal is.
Yeah, okay. So basically, we're just listening to people and watching people talk about things they don't know anything about. And that's basically what the news cycle is all about. And bottom line is on Friday, and this is my prediction because this happens quite a bit with President Trump. There are people saying, "Oh, I know why they're not releasing details of it because they're embarrassed." No, actually, what they're letting people, idiots like Mike Pence, networks like CNN, and other people spend 5 days talking about something they actually know nothing about. And on Friday, it's going to be completely embarrassing for all the people who are conjecturing based on leaks or whatever else it is. I guarantee you guys, and I'm going to ask you honestly, and you can respond on the Facebook page or Rumble or whatever. Are you really watching the news to hear what this general or that has been or that host or whatever has to say about the Iran deal? Yeah, I didn't think so. I mean, it's like, who cares, right? And yeah, we care whether Iran has a nuclear weapon, but they're not going to. So I'm good. But you know, I've never seen a situation, but this is typical of the United States of America, right, people? The entirety of cable news, and in some cases even the talk stuff, people are talking about something they don't know anything about. They're talking about things that they're hearing, or I hear this. Well, some sources say this. Some people say this. That has basically replaced decent and common information in our age these days. It is complete and total conjecture and discussing things that we know they know nothing about. So, I mean, the only thing we know for sure right now today is that McDonald's is bringing back the fried hot apple pie. We know that's happening. But and you can talk about that and think about that, whatever. But as it relates to the Iran deal, nobody knows what is in the deal. Nobody knows. And you guys are tired, I know, of listening to people talk about their concerns about the Iran deal. Like, why? Just because you have to be? Or what? Well, you know, I'm concerned that blah, blah, blah. Concerned about something you have no knowledge about, you mean? That kind of thing? So, anyway, I hate to talk us out of a good subject to burn a couple segments, but that's not happening. Alvin! Yes, Alvin Lui. He's always getting behind what is happening behind our backs in our schools and with our kids and everything else. And the UK has decided to ban a few Twitter accounts, but one has not been banned. We'll follow up on that, too, with our guy, Alvin Lui, straight ahead. Plus, I'll give you an update on Nate Bargatze. My goodness gracious, they're still after this guy. This great comedian for daring to go to the UFC fight. So we'll follow up on all of that. You're with the 3 Martini Lunch, the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Spring weather has everyone sneezing, even inside their home or building. Instead of saying Gesundheit, call Wellington Environmental to perform air tests to determine if mold levels are too high. Gesundheit is the same as saying bless you after someone sneezes, the German word meaning wishing you good health. Wellington Environmental can perform air testing that is simple, fast, and can identify issues keeping you from having good health. Wellington does the same for hospitals and nursing homes for indoor concerns. Give them a call. It's simple. 314-644-4930. 644-4930. Tell Cindy, I need air sampling. They've seen it all. They can help you. Next time you hear Gesundheit, think Wellington. Wellington Environmental. Be well with Wellington.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
In 1999, President Clinton declared June as Gay and Lesbian Pride Month. When Obama ran, he said, I'm for marriage between a man and a woman. But the woke crowd got to him. He said, I evolved. In his second term, he expanded Gay and Lesbian Pride Month to include the entire LGBTQ plus community. A few weeks ago, the MLB said baseball is for everyone. In June, all the teams except for one wear rainbow pride uniforms and ball caps. The Texas Rangers refuse. They have what they call Faith and Family Night, which would suggest, yes, baseball is truly for everyone. 3 of the San Francisco Giants wrote Bible verses on their uniforms and caps, variations Genesis 9:12-16, where God proclaims the rainbow is my covenant, that I will never again destroy mankind by flood. One player said, there is no hate intended, it's just my belief, my stand. Reminds me of evangelist Billy Sunday telling his congregation, you want to stand on something? He tossed his Bible to the floor and said, stand on this.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL. The news and talk.
What is this all about? It's very simple. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon.
That matters to St. Louis.
The final details for a possible agreement between the United States and Iran are still being discussed.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Gulf Shores Restaurant.
We are building a religion. We are building it bigger. We are widening the corridors and adding more lanes. We are building a religion, a limited edition. We are now accepting callers for these pendant keychains. To resist it is useless. It is useless.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Three Martini Lunch, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here with you, Ashlyn over there, and the left having no fun at all. They're even attacking Nate Bargatze now. It's like they have. You just cannot take the demons out of the Democrat Party and the left and the news media. And now their response to Europeans enjoying Buc-ee's and Waffle House and barbecue and walking neighborhoods where they see flags. And I don't know whether you saw the latest one, the Norwegian soccer team, Norwegian fans are now going on escalators and sitting on them and acting like they're rowing up the stairs. They're having so much fun. But on Twitter, the left is saying, whatever you're seeing there isn't true. Our grocery stores suck. It's like, nah. Man, golly, just try to have a little bit of fun at least. Ladies and gentlemen, as we usually do on Wednesdays, we are here talking with Alvin Lui. And, of course, you all know him from the Courage is a Habit. He's the president of Courage is a Habit. Courage is a habit.org. Is it, Alvin? Is it org or com? I'm sorry.
It is .org.
.org. Okay, perfect.
But .com also kicks you over to the .org. So either one works.
Well, you got it all covered. I'm glad about that, and thank you for joining the show. So you are monitoring what's going on over in the UK as they are cracking down on social media platforms. I mean, I guess it does. They're the same way they were 250 years ago. The Brits are tyrants, and only musket balls will apparently settle them down. But they're still at it, and the media platform crushing is going on. But there is one exception you're pointing out, correct?
There is one exception. And so the UK has banned all these different social media platforms, except the very radical left-wing, transgender, cult-pushing Blue Sky.
Wow.
Where there is essentially just, pedophiles, obviously the transgender child mutilation advocates, the celebration of Charlie Kirk being murdered, being assassinated. It is an app from Satan himself, and they've conveniently left that one out.
That is crazy. And as you point out,
how about that?
As you point out also in your post about this on X, Blue Sky is not just some kind of nebulous type of left-wing site. I mean, there's material on there that has been flagged as being pretty bad.
Yes, it is very, very bad. It is extremely bad. And it's just basically where everybody, when Elon Musk bought X, they no longer could silence conservative voices or even just normal voices, just telling truth. And so the Blue Sky was created for them to continue to be in the echo chamber that the left often does, because the left cannot handle open debate. They can own every single platform. They can own all the legacy media. They can own all the education systems. But when you have even one platform that allows people to speak the truth, they can't take it because their power relies on being able to emotionally blackmail and tell lies. And the thing is, you can tell 100 people can tell 100 lies, but one person telling one truth, if they have the courage to stand up, will be able to beat 100 people.
Yeah.
So that's their problem, and this is why they run. So, and for example, there's been a lot of conservative. Now we haven't done it yet, but a lot of my friends on that I work with went over to create a Blue Sky account just to kind of offer like a different perspective, and their account gets nuked within 24 hours.
Oh wow! It's interesting as you're talking about some of the nefarious things that show up on Blue Sky, including advocacies for gender intervention for minors, advocacy for political violence. It's a typical type of thing that actually you have covered, not only in the educational system and everything else, but everything seems to be a cover that looks kind of innocent and, we're just Blue Sky. We're just a place for people who are liberal to kind of come together and discuss without having to this. But really, it becomes, as you dig deeper, a cover for advocacy of other kinds of messages and other kinds of propaganda. So it really looks like it's just kind of a shell for the rest of the nefarious stuff.
Oh, for sure. Just like anything else, because it's, about open borders. It's about transing children. It's about calling for violence against, conservatives, the silencing voices and things. And this is why the UK got there. Now, this is where the UK is right now in terms of they just passed the social media ban. And the way they got there is exactly how we are on the same path, which is social media is bad for kids. Therefore, we must have age verification before children can get on. And so using that guise of protecting children, it's how they basically made every single – because if you say we need to verify a child's before they're 16, to verify if they're over 16 to use social media or any website or social media, what they're really saying is every single person must submit either a birth certificate or a driver's license, because otherwise how would you verify if someone's over 16 or not? And under that guise is now they don't care about protecting kids. Obviously they don't, because the UK fully supports transgender mutilation surgeries for children. So obviously they're not about protecting kids. But what happens is the kids find a way around it. But what they're really doing is that they now have the ID of everybody, and then when like in the UK, they're every week they're arresting somebody for posting wrong thought on social media. So if they posted something conservative, they'll go and arrest them, and that's exactly what's happening. And so we're seeing the same thing play out here, because as we've talked about on your wonderful show a few times, the schools completely destroy the child's mental health, and then the same people that have supported the very programs that destroy a child's mental health because they're in schools 5 days a week for 7 hours a day will then say it must be the cell phones. Now, obviously, we are no fans of social media. In fact, I wrote an article on The Blaze a while ago that encourages parents, and I explain all the what it does to the brain, and I say, you know what, if one of the best things you can do as a parent is to keep your child off social media as long as possible, as long as you can take it, right? As long as going to junior year in high school, that kind of thing. But my point is, parents should be the one to manage that. If you go to government and say, I need you to manage my child, think about what you're saying to the government.
Yeah.
You're saying that I bought my child a $1,000 iPhone. I paid for my child's Wi-Fi. I paid for my child's phone service, cell service, but I cannot manage their access. I'm unable to. And parents, if you keep saying that, the government will then, by logic, say, well, if you can't even do something that simple, then you know what? I guess you can't manage their physical health either, or their mental health, or anything else. This is why the schools come in and start infringing on parental rights. So This is the very dangerous thing to ask government to do for you what you should be doing.
So I know that I've talked to you because I always am able to get great answers when I try to talk to you about the origins of some of these types of things that are happening in our schools, everything else. I'm trying to still figure out, like, what is it about the UK that makes them be this way? I mean, I was half joking, really, about the Revolutionary War and everything else, but, it's no surprise that people who thought stamp taxes and quartering troops and tea taxes were a good idea that they're behaving this way now. But they were also the same way during COVID. I mean, they were arresting people who were trying to hold services, religious services during COVID. So what is going on with Britain? And it's not just Starmer. It's got to be something else. What is it? Do you know?
Well, it's the same thing that is in the U.S. This is a globalist agenda from the UN. The UN has this agenda that wants to go and destroy the West. So everything that we said in the last 7 or 8 minutes also applies to Australia. It applies to Canada. So this is a globalist movement to destroy anything in the West, to destroy the Western values. And really, when it comes down to it, it's also Christian values in the West, because most countries in the West worship the same Christian God. And the individualism. Now, obviously, the United States we have a constitution, which makes us super unique. But Canada, Australia, UK all have that. So you'll notice that all our countries share the same problems. They indoctrinate a child the same way, in the exact same way in schools. Transgenderism, same way. Open borders, illegal aliens, same thing. You got activist judges letting people out over and over again, same thing. Those are the same things that are shared among all the Western countries, and that is impossible unless it's a umbrella movement and is very, very on purpose.
Yeah,
because we're all suffering from the same thing. The one thing that keeps us a little bit behind them is because we have a Second Amendment and they don't.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that, and because that has been an important element of all kinds of tyrannical approaches to leadership. Is you take the guns first. That's exactly what they did in the Soviet Union and everything else. You also are ringing a bell in terms of mass migration. And now I'm thinking, and again, I don't think there's any amount of so-called conspiracy theory that is not to be entertained. So now I'm starting to think that the UN is also kind of a partner in this mass migration that has swept all over Europe. Do you think that's the case?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Migrating people that hate your country is one of the fastest, besides brainwashing your children, is one of the fastest ways to destroy your nation. And, as we've talked about, I don't think maybe I've talked about it on your show yet, but the reason why we have a mass migration issue or illegal invasion issue is because people vote for it. People vote for the politicians that support it. Well, what people? Well, the children. The children that have been brainwashed in schools in diversity, inclusion, accepting people different than you, that kind of emotional blackmail, which we have talked about on your show, that kind of weaponizing children's empathy since kindergarten, since, elementary school, second, third grade. And then when they get older, they will naturally vote for open borders. And this is why probably my all-time favorite quote from Abraham Lincoln is the philosophy of the schoolhouse in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, and it's so diabolical, but man, it all is starting to make sense because not only on that level, when you talk about migrating people who hate the country, you've also noticed adjacent to that, for instance, to some degree in Italy, not all the way, but in Germany and France, one of the first things to kind of go away was a dedication to faith. Dedication to religion. Like nobody goes to church in Germany anymore. And I think that's an end result of a goal.
Absolutely. So for example, in St. Louis a few months ago, in February, early February, in a Lafayette school, there was students that were marching to protect. They walked out of Marquette and Lafayette schools over in St. Louis, and they were chanting, "Immigrants are welcome, no hate, no fear," that kind of stuff. The Rockwood School District had students march out. The Parkway South School. These kids, are privileged enough to live in a beautiful state, and they are marching, screaming to protect violently illegal aliens. Now, some of these kids are 14, 15. Some of them are 16, 17, 18. And parents in St. Louis will say, well, what teacher got them to do that? What did they learn over the last month or two? How did they get them to go out and scream and holler about protecting violent illegal aliens? And my answer to that is like, no one. No teacher or anything told them something a month ago or 2 months ago. If they're 14, they heard it since they were about 6 or 7 or 8. So what you're seeing is activation. You're not seeing. You're looking at the brainwashing now. No. Your brainwashing happened 8 years ago.
Right.
You're just seeing activation.
No, you're right. And I know you've reminded me about that before. Talking to Alvin Lui, he is president of CourageIsAHabit.org. And man, when you think about it, and keep in mind what they're not teaching in these schools, and especially in St. Louis has a great story about legal immigration. For instance, the city of St. Louis and many of its neighborhoods were saved by legal immigrants. In South St. Louis, the Asians who legally immigrated here basically saved that portion of South St. Louis. There's an area also in South St. Louis in the Bevo area that was also saved by Bosnian immigrants. And there are success stories after success story. And there's a really very heavy Muslim population of legal immigrant Muslims here in the U.S. who are thriving in parts of St. Louis. And not only that, just the other day, a chef of a Bosnian restaurant chef, and she's Bosnian too, and legally immigrated here, just won the James Beard Award, which is like an Oscar in the world of cooking and everything else. There are many great stories to tell about legal immigration and how we have nothing to apologize for in our acceptance of legal immigrants and in terms of welcoming people here. Welcoming rapists from Honduras is not what we do.
Right. But that's kind of that frog in the water. That's how they slowly get people, right? And then especially this is that all that white guilt is for.
Yeah.
This is what all that white guilt is for, and white shame is to get white folks to be afraid to speak up and say no more. We're going to draw the line here. And that's what they're doing to kids. And when you're talking about someone who's 30 or 40 years old, it's different. When you're telling a 5-year-old that we should invite and welcome everyone, and how would you like it if someone kicked you out of your country?
Right.
That doesn't go away when they get older and they start to vote. They always vote. They always vote for their own demise, and that is what the schools are doing. And so whether you're talking about parents asking the government to do for them, like the social media, absolutely. Keep your kids off social media, keep them away from phones, or you manage that way. But you do it. You do it based on your family values. Don't have government do it. And then you've got these kids in schools getting brainwashed, and then this is where their mental health is hurting. And then they grow up and they vote for this. And so you see it in the UK, you see it in Australia, and it is we're on the same path here. But we should be wise enough to look at these countries and say, we are on the same path, so let's get off the path.
Yeah.
Let's not follow the path.
Well, and to your point, too, kids are so literal. It's so easy to brainwash little kids, much like it's easy to teach them to play musical instruments because they're simple-minded and they're very literal. And, yeah, you could tell as long as you get the language right, you can poison them forever,
Well, at that age, they're also brain elasticity. their brains will absorb everything, good, bad, or indifferent. Their brains are absorbing all the time, and it isn't until we're about 25, 26 years old where that starts to slow down a little bit in terms of that elasticity. And this is why we say that as a human being, our brain generally don't mature until we're about 25, 26, and maybe a little bit earlier for girls.
Yeah.
And
wow.
That's why, because so all that time, so when you get those values inserted in you, whether it's good values or whether it's bad values, they become your values in your life. And it's very, very difficult to shake that. This is why for parents, if you instill the values very early and you fight this woke mind virus, this ideology, and you give them that bedrock, it is also equally hard for someone to take them off that path when they're older. Right, but then if that bedrock is built on this woke, liberal, anti-America ideology, it is very difficult for anybody else to take them off that path too. So it works both ways.
Wow, we are so glad that you are such a warrior on these subjects, and of course we could see you at theblaze.com and Daily Wire, other places like that. Alvin Lui, courageisahabit.org. He's the president. One quick thing before we go. I was thinking about you because I said, I know Alvin's on this story. I was reading a story just a couple days ago about a teacher, and she actually took this to the court, and the court was like, no, you're fired. The teacher was in her classes, and she was teaching like role playing and having girls kissing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And she was trying to claim it was some kind of part of the curriculum, but all these kids were freaking out, and she had the nerve to kind of try to get her job back, and the a court or somebody's like, nah, you're gone.
So what happened was that she went before the school board, and the school board dismissed her. So here's the secret here, the nasty secret that school boards use to cover for themselves. Don't get it twisted that this is some isolated incident and they didn't know. This is one of these teachers are built this way. They're built to push the LGBT, ABCD, MAP agenda. And so what they do is that they allow the teacher to be dismissed, to resign. Oftentimes these school boards, they don't actually fire. So when they say they don't work here anymore or they resign, in everybody's mind, they hear fired. And the reason why those are two distinctions is because if you let them resign or you dismiss them, that allows them to pop up on another school district where parents don't know about the story. Maybe she have to move a few towns down or whatever, but people forget and then they get hired. If you actually fire her, then it is more difficult for her to get another job in another school district. So I just want to point that out. So when you see resign or dismiss or they don't work here anymore, unless you hear the word terminated or fired, that's the way they cover for each other.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That story. I can't believe that. The actual fact that she even did it is bad enough because it meant that there was something in the back of her mind that told her she could do it. So,
right.
Unbelievable. Well, Alvin Lui, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you on Wednesdays and getting this really good deep dive into a lot of really consequential cultural issues in this country that really, truly matter when all things are boiled down. Alvin Lui, courageisahabit.org. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much, sir. It's always a pleasure, and I will talk to you and your wonderful audience next week.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. That's Alvin Lui. Man, there's some... It's so great that there's somebody onto this. You know what I mean? With all the things going on around the world and the political structures and all that kind of stuff, this stuff is really mattering too. It's Common Sense Radio. We're about 40 minutes away from an announcement regarding interest rates and whether they will go up or down. Obviously, how far they might go down. So we'll make sure we bring that to you live. It's supposed to occur about 1:30, so stay tuned. It's Common Sense Radio.
We're behind you, and let us please remind you, we can send a hard to find you if you ever lose your way. We are building a religion.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Wallner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, I am ready to go ahead and get your home sold. I am ready to go ahead and get you into that dream home of yours. All you have to do is give me a shout, 314-749-7179. The main office is 314-810-SOLD. You can ask for me. I'll be ready to rock for you. I've had a couple of you and had the pleasure of showing you some homes as well. We haven't quite, well, we're a backup contract for one of them, but a lot of you are discerning and waiting for that right moment, and I will be there for you, as will the entirety of the Wallner home selling team. 314-810-SOLD, and we get it done for you. And the selling part of it is where we just pull out all the stops, drone pictures and all kinds of things to make that house stand out and to have people fight over that house so you get the best price for it. On the buying end, I do a lot more of that than the selling end. On the buying end, I'm fighting for you to make sure you get the best price, to make sure you're getting the best commission rate because you're not paying it, the seller is, and also inspections and following through on all the things that you need to do when you're doing something this important in your life, such as buying a home. We take that very seriously at the Wallner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, 314-810-SOLD.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Colombo and Company.
Trump's peace deal reportedly not just getting pushback from the left, but also from high-ranking members in his own party. We'll break down the latest Wednesday, plus Missouri political insider Rodney Boyd and closest cabinet.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Newsteaders Fine Jewelry.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Man, President Trump is making me tired. This is astounding to me. We were just talking about the UFC birthday party on the White House lawn. It's like that just happened. Well, it did just happen, like 3 days ago. Suddenly I'm seeing Macron here, and then I'm seeing Marine One landing at Andrews, and then Air Force One waiting for President Trump because now he's going to Paris. I'm like, dang. I mean, he does more in a week than most of these other people have done in 6 months. The guy never stops. It's crazy. I mean, even to a certain degree, when you think about it, the logistics involved in all of this stuff, whether it be securing the UFC fight and doing all that kind of stuff, getting J.D. Vance over to The View, getting Macron and the meetings and all this kind of stuff, and then all these airplane stuff with all the guards and everything. I mean, it just is astounding to me, the organization and everything else. I realize a lot of you are like, come on, Allman. I mean, he's the president. They know how to do this stuff. But I know, but imagine the kind of organizing you'd have to do to make all this stuff work. I could never do it. And it's probably, I could never do it. I am just excited about the fact that McDonald's is bringing back the fried hot apple pie. That kind of stuff thrills me, but this kind of stuff thrills me too. Had a great night last night at the Cardinal game with Aiden, who's in town, and boy, it's fun being at Busch Stadium. Congratulations to the Cardinals and to all the great people there at Busch Stadium for really making it fun again. All these guys with all their shirts off and stuff. It's, I didn't, it was so fun. I didn't care that I spent $14 on a cheeseburger. So, I was jealous because Aiden, I should have done this because here I'm getting a cheeseburger because maybe I can't have the salt in the bratwurst. So, I'm tired of myself sometimes. So anyway, he gets the bratwurst, but you could put like a 7-course meal on top of the bratwurst. And I'm sitting there eating this dry-ass cheeseburger that I had to soak with mustard and watching him eat this really good-looking bratwurst that had heaven knows what on it, but it was good, and it was a fun time at the ballpark, and really proud of the Cardinals, and it's fun. And, man, right down to the ushers. You guys are like, Allman, have you ever been to a baseball game? Yeah, I have. I just noticed a lot of this really cool stuff. And the ushers at Busch Stadium are really nice. Like, they're really great. I mean, and it's not like it would be drudgery. I mean, you are at a ballpark and everything else, and that's just how things go. But a shout out to the ushers and all the people out there because, golly, doesn't matter who they are. They're super nice people, and it's just a fun time. The ballpark is fantastic. Haven't been there all season, so it's been great. And seeing all the fans connect with these players, a lot of whom don't really have a name necessarily, they're not stars or anything, but they always put things together. And I'm so glad. It's great to have Cardinal games where we go into the 8th inning, 1 run ahead, and we actually win the game, which is something that hadn't happened a while back. It's Common Sense Radio.
Hey, it's Susie Moore for Window World. Did you know that in just over the last 20 years, Window World of St. Louis has improved the look and thermal efficiency for over 80,000 customers in St. Louis? Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis city streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer. Remember when food tasted like home? When breakfast was made from scratch and dessert was worth saving room for? At Shorty's Diner, we're serving up down-home breakfasts, lunches, and desserts just like Mom used to make. Fresh, from scratch, every single day. Step back in time with us, where the booths are cozy, Elvis is always in the building, and every plate feels like a hug.
Hey, it's Jamie Allman. Join me for the 3-Martini Lunch, noon to 2, live from Shorty's Diner this Friday. Stop by for a delicious breakfast or lunch at Shorty's Diner on Lackland in Westport.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump says negotiations with Iran have reached a significant milestone, but warns the fighting could flare up again.
President Trump is discussing a memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran.
So this is a memorandum of understanding, but it's a very strong one. This isn't just like a two-paragraph. This is a long, pretty detailed memorandum that goes into a regular contract. I would think they would do it. If they don't, then that's okay. We'll have to start the process again, and we don't lose. We have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest blockade, the naval blockade, and again, they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, all bombed out, and they want to make a deal.
The agreement is expected to be formally signed Friday in Switzerland. Willie Nelson, Washington.
Federal prosecutors have charged 15 people with impeding the administration's immigration crackdown in Minnesota earlier this year, accusing them of coordinating efforts to block deportations. U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota, Daniel Rosen.
Such stalking and other direct actions against law enforcement are criminal. They're un-American, and they'll be met with swift justice. That's why we're here today. To those who choose to threaten or harm federal officers, we will hold you accountable.
It will be a very closely watched governor's race in Georgia now that the Republican candidate who will be running against the former Atlanta mayor has been chosen.
Former Atlanta Mayor Democrat Keisha Lance Bottoms, who has very close ties to the Biden administration, will face Georgia Republican businessman Rick Jackson. She tells CNN that she would put Biden up against Trump's record any day of the week. Georgia remains one of the country's most evenly divided battleground states, with voters in rural areas predominantly voting Republican and major cities like Atlanta, where voters mostly vote for Democrats. President Trump won the state in the last election cycle. Republican Governor Brian Kemp cannot run again due to term limits. Laura Winters reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Eczema, eczema, eczema. So many ads for eczema products. But those fancy TV ads don't mention that those prescription products can cost thousands of dollars. There's a smarter way. It's Exoderm for eczema and dermatitis. Exoderm costs less than $20. Yep, less than $20. You don't need a prescription, and it's available on the first aid aisle of your local store. Exoderm contains the #1 doctor-recommended ingredient in a clean, hypoallergenic cream with no harsh additives or nasty chemicals. Exoderm, fast, effective relief from the itching and inflammation of eczema. This stuff really does work. Take back control. Heal eczema flares with soothing Exoderm Flare Control Cream. It's on the first aid aisle of your local drugstore, supermarket, and at Target and Walmart, too. Exoderm for eczema. Now that's...
This hour of News Talk STL, brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Another day out there, a day to remain weather aware. We have some storms north of St. Louis that have snuck in with some strong winds, but it's really later this evening and tonight when we're concerned about severe weather. So a hot, humid, and very windy day outside of the thunderstorms. The winds will be gusting in excess of 40 miles per hour. And then we have a strong line of thunderstorms that could produce tornadoes and hail and gusty winds. That's rolling through this evening in the metro area from about 6 or 7 o'clock through about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock this evening. And then things will be a little quieter and less humid and less wind tomorrow. In the First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Want to work with a winner? Follow the multiplier. 279 times growth in total market cap in the past nearly 30 years. 50 times growth in client assets. And ranked the #1 wealth management firm for employee advisor satisfaction by J.D. Power 3 years in a row. Choose a winner. Choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE. For J.D. Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Hungry at midnight? Craving a home-cooked breakfast at noon? At Gingham's Homestyle Restaurant, we've got ya 24 hours a day. For 35 years, folks have been coming back for our famous fried chicken, bone-in catfish, country fried steak, slow-cooked pot roast, scratch-made pancakes, or a slice of homemade pie. Daily specials and a loyalty rewards program that actually pays off. There's always a reason to come back to Gingham's Restaurant in St. Charles. Skip the wait. Join our wait list on Yelp or at ginghamsrestaurant.com.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colonies.
Sweet. I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, oh, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 636-486-7888.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Let's get real. Here's the truth about eliminating Missouri's income tax.
I'm here with State Representative Bishop Davidson. And Bishop, you've heard the complaints about the proposal. Here's your colleague, Representative Ashley Awney.
Frankly, the only thing that this resolution does is increase sales taxes.
So what does this do and what does it not do if we say yes?
The first part of this constitutional amendment is a constitutional shall. It's a guarantee to the people in Missouri that if they vote for this, that their legislature will enact and shall enact legislation to eliminate income taxes using natural economic growth over time. That means when the economy grows, instead of it going back into the coffers of the state, it goes into the pockets of Missourians. The second part is a constitutional may. It allows the legislature to have a conversation around sales taxes, but only so that they can eliminate income taxes faster and reduce local tax rates like personal property tax and real property.
Get the facts at afpmissouri.com.
I really like all the things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. And a happy Wednesday to all of you and yours. The 3 Martini Lunch. Jamie Allman here, Essen over there. Common Sense Radio, people. Talking about airplanes and helicopters and stuff, and Ashlyn says during the break that her bucket list includes a ride on a dirigible, which would otherwise be known as a blimp also. So you want to ride in a blimp, huh?
Yeah, I'm a little nerdy because of Kiki's delivery service. Have you ever seen that?
Oh,
it's got this blip, and I don't want to spoil it, but
Oh.
it looks really cool.
Nice. Well, they do have that little seating area down there, right? And you just kind of...
And you just gaze. It's just like an airplane, but a slower one, I guess.
I think the Hindenburg ruined that dream for me. Did you know that about that?
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at it. I'm just,
I mean, it makes sense. Perfect sense.
those images don't leave your mind very soon. Remember, I had a I don't know where I had like an album or something, and I think it was Edward R. Murrow. I said, "Hear it now." Yeah, that's what it was. I had this album my dad had, and it was an Edward R. Murrow narrated album, and it was "Hear It Now" with Edward R. Murrow, and one of the things. The radio highlights is the guy, announcing that the Hindenburg has crashed. The Hindenburg has crashed! The Hindenburg has crashed! Oh, the humanity! Yeah, it was like, so anyway, it ran into my mom, and I'm trying to figure out whether, I guess this happens as you get older, but and this is where these things come from, but I could swear my mom told me she saw the Hindenburg fly over New York when she was a little girl, because she lived in New York as a little girl. And I think my mom told me once that she actually saw the Hindenburg. Because it did. It would fly over New York, and actually it wound up crashing in New Jersey. So anyway, well, the good news is, Ashlyn, is that the big blimp crash is out of the way. It's already happened. So the chances of it happening again with Ashlyn on board are probably slim to none, since it's already been there, done that.
I don't know. Maybe I'm second guessing my
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Apparently, they're very fun, and they maintain themselves very well. I mean, the Goodyear blimp is world famous. I would probably go up in that first, like the Goodyear blimp, because like they're taking care of that. It's like Air Force One. It's probably a good, strong possibility that everything will be working out A-OK on Air Force One and the Goodyear blimp too, because they fly over stadiums and stuff, and so they're going to take good care of business. All right, so I'm glad. I don't really like to talk so generally about the Democrat Party necessarily, or people who are Democrats. Like I've said before, I know people who are Democrats, and they're good people. I mean, they're halfway decent people. Then you have that other column of individuals who are supporting Nazis like Graham Plattner, who, as an added thing, I'm not quite sure whether it's the Nazi tattoo or it's his insanely small hands that really creep me out. There's something like super creepy about that dude, but his small hands are really disturbing, I have to tell you. Anyway, there's a very few people who will really gravitate towards like the worst people. But I'm glad J.D. Vance, when he was on with Gutfeld, he basically talked about the public Democrats, the Democrats who are serving in office, because they're the ones who really are, in my opinion, representing a wing of the Democrat Party that probably is not familiar to even some Democrats. I mean, you've got people like Jasmine Crockett, you've got people like Hakeem Jeffries, you've got people like Ilhan Omar, you've got people like Jamie Raskin, you've got people like Hillary Clinton, all these people who really just kind of are crabs and really just bad people. And I'm glad somebody, aside from like a radio host like me or somebody, is actually saying it. It turns out it's the vice president, and I'm glad he is.
So I think this is a very, very bad thing. And to make a bipartisan point here, the Republican VP trying to be bipartisan, I was raised by patriotic Union Democrats who maybe wouldn't have agreed with every single policy of a Republican administration, but they recognize that this is the greatest country in the world, and every single one of us should be grateful to live here. And I think that is the fundamental problem. Greg, it doesn't bother me when congressional Democrats disagree with our policies. It bothers me like that they're just terrible people, so many of them. But what really does bother me is that they don't show gratitude for the United States of America. Disagree with our policies, but if you don't feel grateful to live here and for the people who made it possible, then what are you even doing being in public service? Yeah. Too many Democrats don't show appreciation for the country.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, and I think it takes some guts for J.D. Vance to talk like that, because, these guys are always trying to be like Mike Pence would never speak like that, because Mike Pence is a little butt kisser his whole life. And so that's kind of how he operates. He wants to be perceived as just kind of like this angelic holy Joe so you'd never get that from our past politicians, because they'd always be so diplomatic about everything. And, half the time, G.W. Bush, people would sit there and criticize him and stuff like that. And he he wouldn't stand up and say, you know what, screw you. That's what we needed. And that's what we needed for so long. And that's why when President Trump arrived on the scene, and of course, J.D. Vance to a certain degree as well, we were freed. It was like, they're our Moses. So it was perfect. And to his point about the ingratitude for this country and the people who really do hate this country, and it's not just the offspring of many even legal immigrants, it's people, even as Alvin Lui has maintained, who have been trained and groomed in schools and beyond to basically just kind of hate America and hate everything about it. I mean, I guarantee you they're gonna be people on the internet. I mean, and X is where a lot of it is. I know a lot of you are on X, and that's okay. I'm not criticizing you, but man, is that a place where really bad ideas go to die? And so it's there where people are, and anonymously criticizing things. I'm sure somebody's going to have something negative to say about McDonald's bringing back the fried hot apple pie. And after 30 years. And you're probably saying to yourself, gee, Allman, how many times are you going to mention that during your show? Well, it's pretty much the only reason why I'm here, to trumpet the return of I don't even eat them, but I just love the fact that they're coming back. You know what I'm saying? And I love the fact that they never cool down, ever. Anyway, look at the disdain that people have for all of these wonderful images and videos coming out of Europeans. And I've told you about them last week. I've told you about them this week. These wonderful barbecue eating, Waffle House going, Buc-ee's buying, American neighborhood loving Europeans who are like, wow, this is cowboy hats, cheerleaders. I mean, they're loving everything about America, at least the ones that are posting about it. And so invariably what happens is these are people who aren't even citizens here. They're going on the internet or they're posting videos that are applauding the United States of America, even though I'm sure when they're over in Europe, they're told that the United States of America, we're just a bunch of rubes here or whatever, and Trump supporters. And it turns out a lot of them really don't care. They have no congruence with their leadership or their media or anything else. And they come over here to see the World Cup and see for themselves all the wonderful things. So what happens is, in one case, there's a guy, this is a doctor, Sunil Dand, right? And here's what he says in response to all the happy people out there on the internet. I love America, but I hate to burst your bubble. If you were on Twitter and getting posts about how Europeans visiting the country are loving America, the fact is, American food and grocery stores, I have to be honest with you and tell you, you are being fed complete nonsense by the algorithm. I've traveled to almost every European country, and there isn't a single one which doesn't have better grocery stores and higher quality restaurant food than the USA. Just being honest, as a doctor should. 90% of grocery store content is chemical concoction stuff not allowed in Europe or any place else. And then he also talked about how fat Americans are. But keep in mind, what's great is that Mark Deason went out in response to him, and that's what is the upside of X. But imagine like having such disdain in your nose in the air about the United States of America. And this guy's probably an immigrant, by the way. And he should be grateful being here instead of calling Americans fat and doing whatever and talking about our grocery stores. And here's what Mark Deason pointed out, and I didn't even know this. And it's good to know. He said, sorry, citizens in Alabama actually live better than in Germany, Europe's wealthiest country. Germany's GDP per capita is roughly $56,000 in 2024 and would rank 48th among U.S. states, below West Virginia. So you guys know how people always, whenever they want to crap all over America, they'll think of Alabama or West Virginia or Mississippi, which, by the way, has the superior schools in the country, some of the best schools in the country. He also says 80% of European homes lack air conditioning. In the UK, 5% of homes have AC, while in Germany it's 3%. 90% of North American homes have AC. We live so much better than they do. They are in awe, and rightly so. And if you can imagine, the person who I guess was one of the more compelling videos I saw was that guy. Looks like he was from Britain or Australia. I can't remember really, but he had that type of accent. He was wandering through a neighborhood, and he said that every home I see is like something I see in movies. And he was going through a neighborhood that you could probably walk out of your office or your house now. You're probably 50 feet from a neighborhood that is totally similar to what he was walking through. And he couldn't believe that people have American flags outside of their homes, if you could believe that. And he couldn't fathom. He's like, well, yeah, they have flags and NASCAR flags and everything else. But, so that's coming from a place that obviously he doesn't see this a whole lot. So what actually is then happening as a result of the real negativity and disdain? I mean, you've got Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries bitching because President Trump is going to a basketball game, an NBA championship game of a team that he's followed his whole life. I mean, these guys, there's like I've pointed out most of the week, there's no really bad thing these guys won't embrace, and there's no good thing these guys won't find a way to crap on. And it's starting to actually get to the point where people are just fatigued, kind of like the fatigue you're feeling from every time you're turning on your TV or something, there's somebody giving you their opinion about the Iran deal that they know nothing about. So, it's just, it tends to, like, people get fatigued by this stuff. So as a result of that, it looks like now people are starting to maybe take another look at the GOP, because there is a poll out there that shows the GOP is closing the gap with Democrats in the latest midterm polling. And I've been telling you, this idea that somehow the Republicans are in danger for the midterms is a complete and total lie. And I've always believed that. And I do have to reserve the possibility that our greatest enemy will be Republicans, because they don't work hard enough. They're not evangelizing enough. They barely stand up for themselves. Oftentimes they pretend that they don't know Donald Trump. And so those are the people that we have to most worry about. I've always felt this way. I felt this way in 2024, and I am on the record. I am on a recordings telling you that we're going to have to win the 2024 election without Republicans. And indeed, we did. President Trump won independents and Democrats and beyond. President Trump has no reason to thank the Republican Party for his victory in 2024. That's not me just being gratuitously negative towards the Republican Party. You guys know how lazy this party is, and you know how lazy so many of our elected officials are when they're not petulant betas who are intimidated by President Trump's presence and power and moxie and courage and energy. Then they're also not even working to get themselves elected, because the problem is for a lot of these Republicans, and I'll get to this poll in a second, I don't mean to jabber on here, but the problem with a lot of Republicans is a strong and vibrant Republican Party isn't what they want, because that means they have to work harder to keep it that way. When you have a Hillary Clinton as president, or you have Democrats in power, all you do is bitch about them and raise money about them and get elected because you are fear-mongering about them, and that's how a lot of Republicans stay in office and everything else. But a vibrant Republican Party, look how many of these Republicans turned on President Trump only because he was holding them to a different standard. He was making them work. And they were like, well, and making them almost keep up with him, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't match his energy. They couldn't match his love of the country or anything like that. And so they just kind of stepped away and didn't do anything, hoping that maybe the Republican Party will go back to being the former shell of itself that got its ass kicked all the time by people like Obama and was run by idiots like John McCain and George W. Bush. They liked it better when there was a weakness there. But see, now they don't have that choice. They're watching what happens when President Trump endorses a Republican. And so they don't have a choice now. And now these polls are coming out, like this one from The Economist and YouGov. Now, YouGov is a little bit of a janky type of polling operation because it's an internet type of thing. So sometimes I'm not quite sure how credible it is. But usually what happens is that the incumbent party is always the one in peril. But a survey back in February found that Democrats boasted a 7-point lead over Republicans on the generic ballot question. If the elections for U.S. Congress were held today, who would you vote for in the district where you live? And that was in February, where it turned out Democrats had a 7-point lead. Another one from May, though, suggested that Democrats, the lead has slipped to 5 points. But in the latest poll, it's showing now that Democrats are now leading by just 3 points. And that, of course, at one point winds up in the margin of error. And so Democrats are losing ground in polling for the midterm elections, and I've just explained to you why. That's pretty much it. Yes, my friends. So they're still trying to cancel Nate Bargatze, of all people. The left is. Unbelievable. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you that I was just talking to Ethan Way, our poobah there in the sales part of News Talk STL, and we were singing the praises of Jeff Portman and the team at the Gemini Wealth Group. And part of that is because Jeff and his team, they love this radio station. They love the Allman Report show. Jeff is a great guy, good friend of mine as well, and they have committed long-term to supporting your brand of free, common sense, conservative radio. And that really is an honor, and we are thankful. And they have plenty of you from the show and beyond who have reached out to them for help with your retirement plans. Whether you are currently retired or about to retire, you are trusting what I say about the Gemini Wealth Group, and you are trusting the Gemini Wealth Group, and you should. 5 experts, more than 100 years combined experience in investiture, in making sure that you're okay for all of your housing costs and even your traveling costs, or maybe they want to focus on what you want to do with your money 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Are you going to go ahead and pay for the grandkids' college, or help grandkids with a new house, whatever it happens to be, or how are you going to enjoy traveling? Are you going to go ahead and make budgets for that kind of thing? So they cover all the bases, both on the nuts and bolts and the frivolous fun stuff in your golden ages. Their investing is really interesting. They have a proprietary way of taking your portfolio and growing it to the point where you're living off your dividends and not even touching the main part of that. That's the goal of theirs, and man, do they achieve it in so many ways. Planning is super important. The good news is you're living 20, 30, sometimes even 40 years past your retirement. That can also be bad news if you don't have a team like the Gemini Wealth Group on your side. Check it out, thegeminiwealthgroup.com, thegeminiwealthgroup.com.
Springtime in St. Louis, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Mr. Rob Miller from Harvesttown Auto Body in St. Peters did. He called Rhino Shield. Rob, what was the thought process for going with Rhino Shield as a business owner?
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted.
Rob, tell everyone how the experience was with Rhino Shield from start to finish.
The process that I liked was when you came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. Our building was really faded. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
Are your neighbors jealous?
I would be if I was them.
Thanks, Rob. Now it's time to call 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Genius.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hi, Sandy. What's that?
I'm reading up on this Amendment 4 on the August ballot.
What's 4?
Amendment 4 absurdly creates a new un-American minority veto power, but only for ballot issues that we citizens put on the ballot.
Don't they say it'll protect conservative ideas?
Truth gets in the way of their story. Amendment 4 would mean as few as 5% of the most liberal statewide voters in one congressional district could veto any good conservative idea or reform, even when a big majority supports it.
That does sound un-American. How did that get on the ballot?
The politicians put it there, and it would empower a small minority of liberals. They could stop funding for police, stop tax cuts, or any other common sense conservative policy we support.
Only 5%? One district? That would make it nearly impossible to pass needed reforms or rein in politicians.
Yep, Amendment 4 is a misguided power grab by politicians. I'm voting no on Amendment 4.
Right. I'm not giving up my constitutional rights. It's a hard no on 4.
Paid for by Missourians for Fair Governance.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next-door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment policies in the nation. Kansas parents are trusted with choices and options, while Missouri parents must move out of their home to change public schools. And it's a trend. Nationwide, the percentage of students going to their chosen public school has steadily increased. Assigning kids to schools based on their zip code is the old way. Open enrollment is a better way. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. The Allman Report, sponsored by Santino's Cigar Bar in Imperial.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's the 3 Martini Lunch, and we are watching Fed Chairman Kevin Warsh, as in wash the car, or washing machine, if you're in South St. Louis. He's talking now, the interest rates have remained unchanged, which isn't much fun. And we are also watching the market. We'll go right to Fed Chairman Warsh now.
notice something, a difference in today's policy statement. It's a bit shorter, a bit simpler, and it dispenses with some older language. That statement just gives you the facts as best we can judge it. Absent also is so-called forward guidance, which we agreed was not well suited to the current policy conjuncture. This afternoon, you also received the usual summary of economic projections. It's been the practice of this committee for participants to submit these projections, and I have encouraged my colleagues to continue to do so. I, however, have refrained from offering any projections of my own consistent with my long-held views on the SEP, at least as currently structured. In the median projection...
All right, so that is Kevin Warsh. This is his first meeting.
So anyway, the bottom line is that the interest rates are being held steady. There was some hope among a lot of us that they would ultimately dip just a little bit, but they have not. And ultimately, that is based on economic projections and whether or not something like that needs to happen. And apparently, they have determined that it does not need to happen. So that is how that is all going to be going. All right, golly, keeping up with all of the good news. I mean, there are so many left-wingers who are FAFOing, and it's been just wonderful to watch these people just eat dirt every time they turn around. The latest is a federal judge has now upheld the felony conviction against former Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan. You remember that she thought she was going to be an American hero after she decided she would help an illegal alien evade ICE agents at the courthouse. And so she was shuttling the illegal alien out of the courthouse, out a back way to evade the ICE agents, and she was found guilty of helping this illegal evade the ICE agents. She must have thought, oh, this is going to be a good idea. This is going to be great. I'm going to be on CNN, and I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to be an American hero for all the abolish ICE people in the left. And she was summarily basically forgotten about, didn't get any kind of lauding in hardly any other areas there. And so now she faces 5 years in prison and disbarment and a bunch of super heavy fines. And so that didn't work out too well for her. And so she could very well be going to prison. And there you go with the federal judges. I know that we've talked about activist judges and stuff like that before, but this is one time where a federal judge has made things work out. All right, you guys know yesterday I gave you an update on comedian Nate Bargatze, who is undergoing a lot of backlash on the internet, at least that we're aware of, from the fans of his after he attended President Donald Trump's White House UFC event. One person went on the internet and said, "I'm heartbroken that I can't be a fan anymore," one person whined, and flooded this comment section of one of his Instagram posts with their dismay over him showing up at the White House event. Seriously, Nate, I mean, you could have at least waited until after the tour when we all didn't already buy tickets. Very disappointed. I've seen you 4 times and now never again. And so Nate Bargatze is in that situation where I know he probably doesn't care. Keep in mind, a lot of the people on the internet doing this kind of stuff aren't actually fans. They've just decided to kind of, go after him to try to cancel him. I brought you the SNL bit from him on where he played George Washington. I want to give you a taste of what it's like to watch and listen to him on stage. He's pretty funny.
We got in a fight
his wife.
once over chocolate milk. We didn't talk for 24 hours. What happened is I brought
chocolate milk home, and she was like, why did you bring it home? And I was like, you're supposed to drink it after you work out. And she was like, that's not true. And I was like, well, there's a commercial on TV that probably looked into it more than you did. So I decided to listen to them. And she said, that's just the milk people pushing chocolate milk. And I was like, you don't even know what that statement means. You don't know if there's milk people. And I think chocolate milk's doing fine. I don't think they're sitting on barrels of it. And they're like, we got to make up a lie. We got to get rid of this chocolate milk. She went to college, all right, and I did not. But she did not study chocolate milk. When is it good and not good for you? To be fair to her, though, I do not work out. So, you know, but I was probably going to start, and I needed to get all this stuff there.
So that's pretty funny stuff. But that's this typical humor, and he's just so great to listen to. And the best part about it, too, I know for a lot of you also, is he's clean. I don't really mind some cussing comics or things like that, but he's just funny, and he's situational, and he talks a lot about his family and just real stuff, and he's just a great guy. So I think that in the end he will basically survive this. And Bargatze has long maintained that he doesn't really get into politics in his comedy. And back in 2017, he told a newspaper, I don't talk about politics, and a huge part of it's just because there's enough people doing it, which is absolutely true. He says it's on every television show, late night show, so no one's complaining that they can't find enough opinions on what's going on. So he's pretty, and he's pretty, you know, he's not a guy who is, you know, out there on every talk show and everything else. This guy, I admire him for his brand and how he approaches it, and he kind of keeps most everything on the stage. It's not likely you're going to see him popping up on a Joe Rogan podcast, although maybe he has, I don't know. But he's not a big-time self-promoter, and all he did, and he's a UFC fan. He likes the UFC, and so to be able, if you love the UFC, it's like if you've loved NASCAR, and I don't want to give President Trump any ideas, or maybe I do, and let's just pretend that President Trump had a NASCAR race down Pennsylvania Avenue. That would be great. I would absolutely make sure that I was at the NASCAR event, and Nate Bargatze was trying to make sure he was at the UFC event. And this is how he's being repaid. It's pretty crazy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, Noel Buckingham is just an awesome guy. I like him personally because he's a cool guy, and he is just like one of us. And he is excited to be an American, excited to be a small businessman, and really knows his stuff, he and his team, when it comes to pest control. I've known him since he started the business more than some 25 years ago. And he's got a real proprietary approach to, for instance, mosquito treatments. And he says, and this is true, that the fogging doesn't work. It's not effective. It's not actually chasing after the mosquitoes. It's just simply fogging and hoping it catches onto them. The spraying is effective, and that's exactly what Buckingham Pest Control does. They spray for the mosquitoes. And I'm talking about spraying the vegetation safely and everything else. And they're getting rid of the mosquitoes that way because that's where they are. Fogging is just kind of guessing. And that's not what Buckingham Pest Control does. He has a similar approach to termite infestation. And that, of course, is using a special way of killing them that is long-term and going to get rid of them. He is good at finding the termites early. And so if you're worried about something, if you're seeing some little crumbs of wood or whatever somewhere, or you're just concerned about it, or you're about to sell your home or whatever, make sure that Noel Buckingham takes a look at it. And as you are planning, and I realize we're still in June, but man, you don't want to wait until it's freezing cold to get insulation in there, specifically the pest control insulation that is also proprietary with Buckingham Pest Control. Strong supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio. Check it out on the web, people, buckinghampestcontrol.com. That's buckinghampestcontrol.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu Beef French Dip. I love Capriati's, and you will too. Visit Capriati's now at 2 locations, on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Hey, Mike Ferguson here, and for nearly 40 years, Nutrition Stop has been St. Peter's trusted source for natural living. They've got a great, knowledgeable staff offering more than just products. They provide guidance on your wellness journey with exceptional service. From 100% grass-fed meats like elk and bison and local produce to quality supplements and clean household products, 4101 Mexico Road in St. Peter's, just off the interstate at Cave Springs and Highway 70.
News Talk STL is turning 5, and you're invited to the party. Join us Friday night, June 26th at Frankie Martin's Garden in Cottleville for a totally rad celebration with the Retro Nerds, St. Louis's favorite 80s tribute band. Live on the outside stage from 7 to 10. It's an all-ages show, so bring the whole family and stop by and see us at the News Talk STL Pavilion right near the stage. Frankie Martin's Garden, the place for and about community in Cottleville. Details at frankiemartinsgarden.com.
Tim Jones here to introduce you to your new favorite roofing company, Corel Roofing. There were 4 major storms last year. Did your roof take a hit? Do you even know? Most homeowner insurance policies require claims to be filed within 1 year, so time's running out for a closer look. At Corel Roofing Company, you get a local roofing specialist who will advocate for you every step of the way. Give yourself peace of mind. Schedule your roof inspection today with Corel Roofing at CorelRoofingCo.com. That's CorelRoofingCo.com.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story. This date, 1972. Watergate broke.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by the Walner Home Selling Team.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy 3 Martini lunch to all of you and yours. It's Common Sense Radio. The Allman Report, y'all. You know, Jim Morrison was so... I'm loving listening to Ray Manzarek on his keyboards there. One time... Jim Morrison was being interviewed. I know it's on tape out there. You could probably find it someplace. But he was being interviewed, and he said, and this was like in 1967 or something like that. And he said, you know, someday music will be electronic. It'll be all electronic. And you'll have overdubs and sound and all this kind of stuff. And he was... it was absolutely right. You know, by the time the early 70s came around, you had a lot of the, Emerson, Lake and Palmer type stuff and overdubbing and these kinds of things, but he predicted it very well, and they were not as electronic. Ray Manzarek, you could tell there's a little bit of that electronic keyboard there, but that's about it. All right, so hey, again, these people cannot, especially on the left and beyond, they cannot have any fun. I think we've established that they are a bunch of crabs, and they're the guy in the storybook we had when we were little. I remember this one, and I'll never forget it because my mom was very intolerant of being crabby and complaining. I was raised that way, and that's why I, don't complain about stuff. I mean, obviously I complain about stuff on the radio here, like, you know what I'm talking about, but just kind of your existence and complaining about this, complaining about food or that kind of stuff, zero tolerance for that. And I think it comes from the fact that her mom and dad were Mennonites, and they were, and Mennonites were very simple people, and a lot of farmers and everything else, and very religious. And so you never complained. I mean, you just didn't. You were thankful for everything you had. And I'll never forget one of the books my mom was plying me with when I was a kid. I don't know what the name of the book is. And I brought it up one other time, and even Phyllis Farwig didn't come up with the answer, but it was the guy who was like a crabby guy, and he just sat up on his roof sucking lemons. Can anybody tell me what that story is? I should have bothered to look it up, but I didn't. But he was sitting on his roof sucking lemons, and that was an example, like my mom would say, that's an example of people who are just crabby and unhappy, and they just sit up on their roof sucking lemons. And that's what he was. I don't know, that's just some guy. But anyway, that's kind of the way so many people in the news media are these days, and even the left, because they can't enjoy anything. And like I say, they embrace like the worst things and hate the best things. So they can't even tolerate the fact that so many people from Europe, for instance, are going around the country and discovering all these great things about America that they are loving. But what happens on MSN now? Well, there's a program called Money, Power, and Politics. Stephanie Ruhle is the host. And she had Pablo Torre and this fake conservative named David French, who was just an awful dude. And they didn't like this whole idea that people were starting to enjoy America.
Not just the fan experience, but we have all of these fans from all over the world coming here. And there are some beautiful ones, right? Like, people have become obsessed with this guy, Freddie from Germany. He's chronicling all of his American experiences, what he's eating. He's loving it. But he's a one-off, okay? Think about what it's like for people.
Actually, and she's wrong, right? Because, well, he's a one-off. Well, actually, I brought Freddie to you last week first, and then this week I had about 5 other examples of people who were loving this country and loving all parts of Americana. So when she says it's a one-off, that's, of course, propaganda and a lie.
Ticket prices, how much it costs, the transportation, the fact that they now have these extra hydration stations, which just means more commercials. What does this say? Is this showing the worst part of America in terms of, hey, you want to come? Here's a party. I'm the man at the door. Pay $50 to get in.
Honestly, is there anything, lentil it's called? Oh, okay. I can look it up. We'll figure it out. Lentil. Maybe that's what his name is. I don't know. But anyway, this is the kind of thing we're seeing with people who cannot enjoy good things and nice things. And you know what? It's so different. And I'm going to give you an example, for instance, of what it was like, for instance, to being at Busch Stadium last night with my son, Aiden, having a great time, everybody enjoying the Cardinals and enjoying the lentil. Thank you, Phil. Okay, yeah, okay. Ashlyn put it up, but I didn't see it. But lentil, yeah. Was he just a crab Crabby dude? Yeah. What a name, too. Gee whiz. Lento, it sounds like he's actually Mennonite himself. Anyway, so if at the ballpark yesterday, and this is a similar experience that all of us have. Like by looking at the news and looking at Twitter and all that other stuff, you would think that everybody is old Sneap. Okay. That's what my mom was trying to tell me never to be. Don't be old Sneap. Thank you, Phyllis. I knew Phyllis was going to. She said she had to Google it, but that's okay. It's that's what I would have done. But anyway, when you look, like you go to the grocery store, you're wandering around Home Depot, or you're at the baseball game, and everybody's just having a good time and enjoying whatever it is they're enjoying, keeping to themselves or having a good time together. And nobody, I guarantee you, maybe half the stadium are Democrats. Half the stadium are Republicans. Who knows? Independents or what have you. But everybody is enjoying something together. But with the news media, especially with social media and beyond, you can't enjoy, people don't enjoy things together. Like the UFC thing is really cool. And I'll say it. I mean, if Barack Obama or somebody were doing that, I think that would be cool. And I can honestly tell you, I think that would be cool. I would never talk anyway about, well, it's not, you're defiling the institution of the White House. I'm not that kind of guy. I do think that having people who are topless trannies on the White House lawn in a parade are not really all that great. So I'm not a fan of that. But even then, I didn't really complain too much about it. But the fact of the matter is, people just can't have fun anymore with things, and they have to sit there and complain and navel gaze about every little thing.
Most American of all the World Cups there's ever been.
Yeah. So anyway, that was Stephanie Rule's point, and these guys all crabbing about people, and then the other people, like I told you, who were on the internet and beyond, all these other people who were saying on X that, Americans are fat. So promoting Buc-ee's and Waffle House isn't the right thing to do. I'm just glad. The one thing I am glad about, I tell you, is that when the Europeans did go to the Waffle House, that they didn't walk in and find the employees all beating each other half to death, which actually there's a lot of videos out there. Don't tell the Europeans, because we're having fun right now with them. Don't tell them to go ahead like you can. Google Waffle House fighting, and you will see that oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, but enough times, for some reason, Waffle House shows up on the internet with people beating each other. And sometimes it's the customers. Sometimes it's the employees fighting each other. Sometimes it's the employees fighting the customers. But our buddy from wherever he was from didn't see any of that, so I'm glad. God bless America, right, people? Have a great rest of your day. Ashlyn, thank you so much. Coming up next, Tony Colombo and Company.
Is your retirement income at risk if you or your spouse needs nursing home or in-home care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. The cost of long-term care is one of the biggest risks in retirement planning. For many retirees, a single nursing home stay can cause a significant reduction in assets that can permanently reduce your retirement income. Fortunately, there are affordable and flexible options available today that can help you manage the cost of long-term care. Our team can help you address the risks relevant to your retirement, including long-term care. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's